It's up to you. Hello, we are live. The Cinema 9 podcast is here, technically, for the most part. A third of us, plus Luke. Luke Horlbeck is filling in for both Eric Brandstrom and Mike Govier, my co-hosts. I am Travis Roy. My co-hosts, stricken down by separate temporary maladies. And Luke, I really strongly thank you for coming on today, so I'm not talking into the void by myself. That'd be so awkward.
Yeah, I'm just absolutely thrilled to be part of the polycule. So yeah, I'm very happy to be here. I hope I can do this pod justice. Without Mike and Eric, I mean, gosh,
Oof, big shoes.
I feel like huge shoes, and there's two sets of them. That's unfortunate.
Also, am I talking to Luke Horlbeck if I don't have to break out a dictionary? What is a polycule? I'd love to know. So would our
audience. It's a love group.
Ooh, I like that.
It's people that live together, love each other. And, yeah.
You're on the Cinema 9 commune.
Yes, exactly.
Savvy regular listeners may have noticed that, especially those that listening to our audio track, Luke, he was with us last week for our special, well, not even a week ago, for our special bonus episode over the weekend, collision of all of Mike Govier's podcasts, him from Palazzo Podcast and a little bit of Chris Deary, Luke from Is It Safe Podcast with Mike, and then, of course, myself and Eric. And so you had, and then a couple other friends, Paul Freeling and Brian Madison. We are grateful for their presence on the show and taking the time to be there, which means if you're paying attention, we had 7 voices over one another at once on top of a bunch of audio drops, just booming left and right, just coming at you. It was a vomitous massive noise. And if you listen to the whole thing through, I salute you. Thank you, listener.
Yeah. Thank you from me too. I think Mike was so concerned about your mic not working, the mic between you and Eric, because he was like, it's not unidirectional. This is going to be a big mess. And I think he like teed you guys up perfectly. Like you sounded so good. Both of you sounded amazing. I should have just not said anything because like my mic was, for whatever reason, it sounded like complete trash. So
it was very cobbled together. Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was, we got together over the weekend in person. We never get to do this. Luke, it was so awesome to see you and like shake your hand, and hug you and all that good stuff.
Yes.
And we didn't get sick from this event.
No, I mean, I did not.
I did not either. I mean,
okay,
it's been a few days, so I think I'm safe to say I'm in the clear now.
You're in the clear at this point.
Yeah. So that's
now. We went to London for our honeymoon. Our belated honeymoon. So we'd been married for 3 years at this point, and our original honeymoon got canceled. Anyways, we went to London, came back. Both Chris and I had COVID, and she was kind of like mortified, and so was I, because we both had kind of skipped our boosters. I think a lot of people just lapsed on their booster, and I knew not to do that, but we did it. And then she was talking to her boss, and he was like, yeah, I went to London, got COVID. And she was like, Jesus Christ, everybody's getting COVID in London. And I was like, okay, cool. If that makes you feel better, we're good. But I am still like ready to get my booster. But since I just got it, they say you're supposed to wait. So
I was first things first, and I was like first in line both times to get the booster. I'm like, what is this? You gave it to a guinea pig and then me? I'll take it. Give me this fucking shit. Put it in my body. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, you sent a monkey to space. Put me in the chair right now.
Yeah, exactly. I'll take my chances. And so far, the arm's still attached to the body. I'm still alive.
Yeah, poor Rufus is still orbiting some planet, Rufus the dog or whatever his name is.
And to knock on wood again, I'm getting to be the only person I know who's not yet had COVID. So that's something.
Do you think at this point though, you've probably had it, just been asymptomatic?
I mean, my assumption is that I have, and so that's partly why I wear the mask so much in public, because I'm thinking, well, I'm probably a fucking carrier monkey. Who knows when I've got this shit? So I better like try and not spread it around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
that's my
You're
assumption.
patient 1,000,000 to 2,500 or something.
Yeah, yeah, I'm long on a list.
Yeah.
So we're speaking of apocalyptic events, we're going to be talking about 10 Cloverfield Lane today. After
Oh
we
yeah.
get through our initial chit chat, which you're so far already enduring for 5.5 minutes, but also we're going to talk about, as always, our quarantine viewing picks, by which we mean the movies we've been watching most recently. Typically, I go first, but we don't need to do that. Luke, what have you been watching?
Okay, so yeah, I'm always like very underprepared for this segment.
That's fine.
Yeah, but I did have two that I really so I did a double feature.
Okay.
I watched X. Have you seen that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I watched X and then I watched Old right after
Interesting.
that, which
Okay.
I think was a perfect kind of double feature. Now, I guess we can't really spoil things. I guess suffice to say, I loved them both for different reasons. Very unique, both movies very unique. I think that Ty West is doing an incredible job actually capturing that kind of independent film magic of Texas Chainsaw
Mm-hmm.
without making it without being it's actually way bloodier, right, than Texas Chainsaw, because I don't think there's any blood in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think it's all
Skin.
implied.
There's skin.
There's like yeah, there are lampshades. Yeah, it's very Ed Gaines. It's an Ed Gaines
There's
thing. Yeah,
skin.
and or Ed Gain. And
Yeah.
anyhow, I thought X was amazing. I'm really looking forward to seeing Pearl, which is supposed to be part of this trilogy he's doing, and then Maxine, which is going to be
Mm-hmm.
next year. So that was awesome. And then Old M. Night Shyamalan, I have definitely like come around on him in different ways. I watched The Village as well,
Mm-hmm.
literally after I watched Old.
Oh, okay. A triple
And
feature.
yeah, well, I watched it like the next day, but
Oh, okay.
yes. So I remember people having a lot of very like strong thoughts about The Village,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like a dividing movie. It was just kind of like people fucking hated it or loved it. It was bizarre that it like elicited that level of engagement, that
Mm-hmm.
level of annoyance
Yeah.
or love and appreciation on the other side. And I thought it was superbly constructed. I thought it was really well done. And then I was sitting there watching it with Kristen. We were about like an hour in, and I just looked at her and I was like, so these people are all just like sociopaths, right? And she was like, yeah, that's what's going on. So I was like, it was cool to watch it again after we know what the conceit is.
Yeah.
So I thought that was super fun. But yeah, that's been my like viewing lately. I watched some really I watched movies that were so bad. I literally don't remember what they're called. I
That's
watched like 3 or
promising.
4 of those, and I
Tell me
what am I
one.
supposed
What
to
was
do?
it about? Let's play a game. See if I can
Oh
guess it.
God. Okay, let's see if you can guess. You're not gonna
Give
you're not
me
gonna
one.
guess it, man, because it has a name. It has some dumb, like high octane name that's just like, never back down. It's one of those things.
Who's in it?
Nobody literally watch on the
You watched
airplane.
you watched a film that was just
Yes.
an empty room.
Yes. I watched a movie on the airplane on the way back from London. I watched Zodiac on there,
Okay.
which I
classic.
constantly watch. I watch it at least 5 or 6 times a year, but I definitely watch it when the fall time hits.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched Halloween, of course. And they had this one. I literally couldn't tell you. The guy in it, I didn't recognize. He looks like 5 other like roided out MMA fighters who became actors. He looks like one of those guys, but
We're
it's not
talking,
a guy that it's not a guy that anyone knows. I tried
Okay.
to look him up, and it was like, no, this is terrible. And the
I
movie
try to-
sucked.
I try to play this game with you, and this sucked. So I'm going to move on.
Yeah, I know. I blew it. I blew it.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I'll talk about what I watched then. I just finished just now the season finale of She-Hulk, which has got like a 5.2 or something on IMDb. People are being brutal to this show, which I don't understand. I mean, some of the budget problems are apparent, but it's clever, it's funny. You get to see superheroes instead of kicking ass, they're like taking their garbage out and like dating and stuff like that. It's like so prosaic. It's so cool. Like it should be people should be eating this shit up with a spoon, but instead it's like, oh no, it's a woman, and I, hate half the population. I guess I don't know. I don't understand.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
no. Well, are they incels?
I'm not sure. I mean,
Probably.
I would acknowledge that the budget issues and maybe the sense of humor isn't for everyone because it's not the funniest show I've ever seen. But yeah, I mean, if you like Marvel and if you hate Marvel, then that makes sense. It's not for you. But if you're someone that is into the MCU, it's like you were missing out. But on the other hand, I watched Werewolf by Night, another MCU, special the Halloween special that just came out, and I was really geeked for this. And I don't know, it just kind of missed the mark for me. It felt I'd never realized until I saw him on screen how much Marvel's Man-Thing was reminiscent of Groot, and I'm like, oh, he's just like Groot, only wider.
Wait, can you give me like an elevator breakdown of what this show is supposed to be?
So Werewolf by Night is a somewhat obscure Marvel character who is a werewolf, but by night once a month, I guess. But anyway, and then his friend Man-Thing is Marvel's answer to Swamp Thing. So just imagine Swamp Thing, but with a less visibly human appearance. And and then Elsa Bloodstone, another Marvel character who's pretty cool, popped into it too. So there's some introductions I was stoked for, and I was like, well, I don't know. I just kind of felt like a little underwhelmed by the thing. Maybe because it's only an hour long. They only didn't have, and it was black and white, which was fun. I had like little cigarette burns in the corner at times, and it had like kind of like hissing noise. It was like some throwback stuff.
But it's not done in film though, right? I mean, it's obviously
it wasn't shot
filters.
In film. Yeah, it was all nostalgia. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I don't know.
How cool would a fucking MCU project be shot on actual film like that?
I would love to see. I would love to see an MCU movie shot by like David Cronenberg on real film.
Well, this was Michael Giacchino, who is he does the scores. He did the score for the Batman. He did the score for Spider-Man No Way Home. He's done a bunch of stuff. He's a big deal in that world. So this is his first direction, which was kind of cool. Yeah. I watched another horror movie. Actually, I watched a couple horror movies because I also watched The Wailing, which was supposed to be our feature film for this evening. If you're tuning in and like, hey, what the fuck? I thought you guys were going to talk about the South Korean horror feature from 2016 called The Wailing. You're going to have to wait another week. I'm sorry. I myself made the call to push it back because I didn't want to do it without Eric. This is one that Eric had seen before, like me. And, I wanted to be able to do the actual Does It Hold Up segment with them. And we were at that point thinking it was going to be you, me, Luke, and Govier. But that didn't happen. I watched Hellbender, it's a independent feature. A family made this horror movie. When he was on here last, our full episode, Brennan the Story from the Ghost Story guys, when he was on our cliffhanger episode, he talked about how he had interviewed this family that made this horror movie called Hellbender. So I figured I'd check it out. It is very arty, and good. Super low budget. Like really low budget, and it's like so since it's a family, there's like 4 people in it, but we just watched 10 Cloverfield Lane, which had 3 people in it, and there's plenty to talk about there. So I would recommend Hellbender. It didn't blow me away, but it's certainly worth seeing. I watched Young Guns, man. I'd seen Young Guns before, of course, but it had been a long time since I watched it. When's the last time you saw Young Guns?
It's cute. It's queued up because it must have recently been added to streaming services or something because it has popped up for me a couple of times. So I just re-added it to my list or whatever over 20 years ago. And I've been kind of dying to dig back into it.
It's still very much an action movie with a really dumb score, but it does have so many moments that are a lot of fun. I know Eric had kind of talked about doing it on this show at one point. Maybe he will, so I won't go too much into that. But I am kind of itching to rewatch Young Guns 2 now. I mean, I always actually preferred that one to the first one. Last but not leastly,
forget about that.
Yeah. Last but not least, I checked out. I figured, well, shit, I watched 10 Cloverfield Lane, but I've never seen the Cloverfield Paradox, and I watched that. You had asked me about it over the phone, Luke, and as I told you, it's tenuously part of a trilogy.
I said, is I said, I feel like I need to watch this trilogy. Is it worth watching? And you said, this a trilogy the same way pizza in the morning is breakfast food.
Yeah, cold pizza.
Cold pizza is
Specifically.
breakfast food. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay because I mean, we've all done that. It's happened. You're like, oh, this is all that's here. I guess I'll fucking eat this shit. But that's some lowbrow, some low level shit. We'll talk more, of course, about how this fits into the Cloverfield universe when we get deeper into 10 Cloverfield Lane. But the Cloverfield Paradox was like, hey, here's a whole movie, and here's a snippet, a breath worth of film time to suggest that you're in this Cloverfield universe. It wasn't not worth watching, but I didn't love it either. Pretty much maligned, actually. So, well, and that's what I watched. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm sorry. Was this the Paradox?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. No, I was jumping in at the wrong time.
Oh, all right. So typically what we would do at this point, as we would pivot to our feature film for the evening, 10 Cloverfield Lane, usually we would guess the IMDb score, but I had to pull it up already. So I'm going to have you guess, just you, Luke. What do you think the
10 Cloverfield Lane?
Yeah.
I'm going to give this one. I feel like it's got to be a pretty high rating just because it's such a tight movie. I don't know what you would complain about. So I'm going to give it like a 7.2.
Oh, well, you hit it right on the head, my friend. It's a 7.2. I will.
Is it really?
I'm on a podcast. It's my job to talk.
Yes.
You did it.
The new champ. Holy
winner.
shit.
You know what you win?
7.2?
Yeah. Yeah. You know what you win?
Nothing.
Okay. You've played this game before.
But what I win is a chance to be on the pod again. So the next time.
Well, maybe you'll be invited on again. When am I going to be on the Is It Safe podcast with you and Mike Govier?
I didn't think you wanted to be. So
why would I not want to?
I don't know. Of course, anytime. Well, actually, we're gonna need you, as a matter of fact, because our other host has he's adjusting to work lifestyle right now, and so we're definitely gonna need some guest hosting coming up. So if you are free,
tap me. Yeah, I'm free.
We usually try to do it on Wednesdays. So
it'd be a double dip for me because we usually record on Wednesdays. It's a Thursday now for those that are watching us live.
Yes,
but yeah, I can double dip. I can get a double dose of Mike Govier in one evening.
Oh man, yeah, we would love to have you. Are you kidding? Yes, it's a natural fit. So I don't know why that hasn't already happened. It's a little silly.
Well, it's okay. And listeners, if you're into Mike Govier when he's here ordinarily and his shenanigans and insights, and then of course Luke and his great wit, check them out anytime on the Is It Safe podcast. It is, yes, that is a movie reference to Marathon Man, but instead of talking movies specifically, although sometimes you do, they just kind of talk about wherever the conversation takes them, complaining about society, right? Like societal complaints is the general theme of that show.
Societal complaints is probably the best way of putting it. Yeah.
I've got complaints.
We do try to have like a little structure to it, but we often, what we'll do is we'll share a bunch of notes and we're all prepared, kind of. It depends on who reads whatever article, and then it just fucking sprawls out into the galaxy instantly, and then we just never get back to what we were talking about. But sometimes I have some fairly rousing discussions. So,
indeed,
yes, please visit us there.
All right, and I look forward to visiting you there. Also, let's look at some of these, shall you say, reviews from people that saw this movie when it came out. The Tomatometer over at the Rotten Tomatoes website, 90% from critics. That is certified fresh, with an audience score of 79%. Not exactly on par, but pretty close.
Not bad.
Not too shabby. Let's get a look at some of these reviews themselves. Let's see here. So critical reviews, who do we got? We'll start with Max Weiss from Baltimore Magazine. Both Winstead and Gallagher Jr. are great as the young bomb shelter roomies, but it's Goodman's film. He's a Stephen King style character, affable and menacing, with both a cheery bonhomie and a hair trigger temper. All right. That's fun. You get to throw bonhomie in there. I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah.
Bonhomme. I felt good about it
till
you spoke.
It's French bullshit.
Yeah, tough one. I'm not gonna lie. Tough. I've never been good at the French anything. Not even kissing. Who am I kidding?
Oh, come on.
I can't even make French toast.
No, you proved you were good at it at the feast.
At making French toast? I did make French toast once.
No, French kissing.
I don't recall that, but things get wacky.
You didn't even recall making French toast, so here we go.
Andrew Pierce over at The Curb says the lack of solid character development made for a generous lack of tension. Splat. Wow.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So do you, motherfucker.
Luke has feelings. Kate Roger over at News Hub in New Zealand says this film kept me guessing almost until the final credits. All right, missing some big names here. Where are the big people at? There's a lot of blogs and whatnot that I've never even heard of before.
Yeah, you mean like like Nate Johnson from like the slashfilm.com website. Those people.
There's I mean, I'm not saying that they're that their opinion doesn't matter, but let's see. Candace Frederick from Real Talk, that's something I've actually heard of before, says it's well acted, nuanced, and surprisingly effective. A definite must-see thriller, but she gives it a B+. So
Travis, are these all from when the movie was are there dates on these? Are these all from like 2016?
So I read one from 2020, but everything else has been from 2016.
Okay.
So I'll do one or two more here and then we'll wrap it up. Sunny Bunch from Washington Free Beacon says 10 Cloverfield Lane is alternately hilarious and terrifying, horror and tender. 3 out of 4 stars. Okay, that's fun. Well, I think that's probably enough. Let's move on with our lives. What do you think?
Yeah, of course. Let's move on from that stuff.
Let's move on from that stuff. All right, so getting into the meat of Dan Trachtenberg's 10 Cloverfield Lane. Luke, is this your first time? This was not your first time seeing this movie. You picked this movie.
No,
do you remember the first time you saw it?
I don't remember the first time I saw it. I actually thought it was from like 2010. Time is in a weird warp now.
You don't say.
With the pandemic, honestly, like with Trump becoming president, there was an acceleration of time. And then with the pandemic, I mean, I feel like I've missed the last 6 years somehow. Like it just kind of disappeared, and then now
Sure.
I'm adding on those years to like movies that I've seen. And this one came out in 2016, March of 2016, and I thought this movie came out like at least 5 years prior to that.
I feel like on your point about time, it's like if you were to fall down a mountain, to your death, because we've been on a steep decline, there will probably be moments where you're in free fall and probably moments when you're kind of scraping against the mountainside, maybe even landing
slow down a bit. Yeah.
Against the cliff. And then you kind of roll for it a little bit. So this is kind of how time has felt for me since late 2015, early 2016.
I've been so focused on the myth of Sisyphus, like pushing the rock up the mountain. I hadn't thought about what it feels like to go down the mountain and like grab a branch every once in a while and like things slow down just for 1 second.
But
it's like that's like something significant that happened in your life, and you're like, oh, I remember that happening during this year. Like when I adopted my cats, that was cool.
Yeah.
But then I don't remember like the next 8 months. And then all of a sudden something significant happens again. It's just tumbling down the fucking hill. Yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. Well, don't forget the thing about Sisyphus is that he had great abs. So I made him do a spit take.
Shredded.
All right.
Oh, he's shredded. Oh, his pecs are out of control.
So I mean, this is only my second time watching this movie last night, and I watched it when it came out, not in theaters, but it got such good buzz. You know, when movies come out, what it was 8 years, I think, after the original. I think Cloverfield was 2008, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, so I may have been thinking about the original
Yeah,
than this one. It's just so
sure.
weird how it like slips into the ether and you don't even. Yeah, it's in the stream, right? It just jumps into the stream and
Right. All there
anyhow.
is the perpetual now. Um, so
See, this is the way this pod was meant to be. Just the two of us.
So we're firing Mike and Eric, is what you're saying. All right. I'm sure they might have something to say about that. But yeah, so I saw it more or less when it came out and went, oh, it is a Cloverfield movie. Now, obviously, for those listening at this point, if you haven't already seen the movie, you should, because we're going to get deep into the spoilers of the
We're
film
gonna
now.
spoil it, yeah.
And immediately last night, one of my main takeaways, if not my main takeaway from this film, is that it's weakened by its name. It's weakened by being shoehorned into this fucking quasi trilogy that J.J. Abrams insists exists. Because it spoils it. It spoils it. It spoils the ending of the movie. Imagine if instead of 10 Cloverfield Lane, it was called 10 Hollyhock Lane.
It just wouldn't have been as catchy. I don't know.
It wouldn't have been as catchy, but to me, the whole premise of the movie is that you're watching this character locked in this underground bunker, and she's being told, "Hey, these horrific events have happened above, and who knows what's going on." And all we know about her main captor is that he's "quote unquote" got a black belt in conspiracy theories, and that he's potentially a murderer, and out of his fucking gourd. So.
Out of his goddamn mind.
So the tension of the movie should be: is he telling the truth or is he not? If she escapes, is there actual danger or is there not? And if there is actual danger, is it terrestrial in nature? Is it the Russians? Like what's going on here? Or is it like how much stronger would the movie have been if she gets out there and it does like this full on from dusk till dawn kind of flip the script thing where you're like, oh, there really is fucking aliens. He was telling her the truth the whole time. He wasn't crazy. How wild.
Well, yeah, that's still intact in the film. I don't think that actually spoils that part of the tension, because I've seen this movie like 2 or 3 times prior and I was still like, oh, okay, did I just imagine the fucking things at the end? Like, am I crazy? And I was like, because I was still like really, really like in that drama of her trying to like get out of this fucking room and like just being with this complete like maniac, but this like tender-hearted psychopath, this person. So I couldn't stop. So watching it now this many years later, but again, not as later as I thought it was.
Yeah.
This came out in 2016. This came out 6 months to a year after like Trump introduced his like candidacy for president. This is the QAnon guy. Like,
right.
He is the guy in the bunker who built the doomsday bunker. Everything's been proven right for him. It's all coming together. But he doesn't have anyone to share his bunker with, which is probably one of the things that these bunker builders need to really be thinking about, is how boring is it going to be when I'm in the bunker all safe and cozy and have no one to talk to.
Oh my God. How many times did you think of this? You're basically watching Quarantine, but without the internet.
100%.
I mean, that's literally what they're doing down there, playing fucking board games with nothing to distract them. Can you imagine just being stuck in that scenario with 2 other people for months on end, literally nothing to distract you but board games and the same like 50 songs?
Yeah. I lived with my parents growing up. Then we didn't go anywhere. But Yeah, but no, that is interesting. Like I was thinking about that too. I'm like, my God, it's not like they predicted this, but it's like, okay, John Goodman is like, oh, I predicted this fallout, so I'm glad I got this fallout shelter. And then
Yeah.
I also predicted the fact that, like, the government's going to put magnetic chips in our, vaccines, and we're not going to be able to go outside anymore or whatever.
Yeah.
It was just, I thought it was such a, very, not only is the movie like perfectly taught, I think it is a delicate, like, usage of these, different types of, I guess, characters of
Hmm.
people on the right and people on the left or whatever. And I like how it didn't turn into like a weird political kind of back and forth at some point.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, this girl's a crazy liberal and all that, and like, oh, she's being taken hostage by this like crazy right-wing guy. It was just more like, let's just sit in this guy's world for a while and see
Hmm.
what in the fuck, how is this going to play out? How is this
Yeah.
actually going to play out
Well,
with
it's
this
so
guy at the helm?
yeah. It's so unsettling as a viewer that he ends up being right. It's unsettling as a viewer that he
Yep.
has this power of knowledge over her, that Howard Goodman's character has this power of knowledge over Mary Elizabeth Winstead's character Michelle, and he doesn't use that power. He actually, like, it tells her the truth consistently, and he turns out to be right about his conspiracy theories. He turns out to have been right to equip this whole place the way he has, and it's so unsettling. But at the same time, it's pretty clear that he drove his wife and child away with his obsession about safety and about this coming apocalypse that he thought humankind was going to be responsible for. So and he was both right and wrong at the same time, which I think
Mhm.
walks that fine line that you're talking about.
Yeah, and it again, having it's almost like I thought I just got this movie, inherently, but yeah, I was thinking about it again. You've got, so, uh, the director, it seems to be the writer, director, whatever. It seems to be like there is this kind of loving portrayal of maybe your father that has like kind of gone off the rails a little bit, and so you want him to really be somebody that was right.
Mhm.
I feel like it's such a shot for like shoot the moon type idea, but nobody would make this movie now. And I think that gets said a lot about other types of movies, but nobody would make this movie now where, it is kind of a loving portrayal of like a very conservative dad who like really only wants to kind of keep his family together. I mean, he is literally fighting to keep the nuclear family together. That's why he runs her off the road. That's why he kidnaps her.
Right. He
At least
creates
that's
a
the
new
way I
one.
took it.
No,
Yeah,
I take that. Yeah.
he basically like brings her in as a surrogate for his daughter.
Right. Oh,
Um
that's clear.
yeah,
Yeah.
right, of course. And he says as much, but it's like the depth of his heartbreak is what is like driving him to be like completely insane, and also the fact that he just doesn't trust anyone anymore. And
Yeah. But he was
I
insane
mean,
before that because he took this girl
yes.
hostage. He took this girl and presumably killed her in this bunker from Emmett, the John Gallagher Jr.'s character's high school. So, and then we don't even really know that his wife
Right.
and daughter went off to Chicago.
No idea.
For all we know, they all ended up in that barrel. Um, and he's clearly, it's not just that it's so funny to me because he's a great villain and he is Stephen Kingy. I love that reference because Stephen King has always known how to present characters, these awful villains who are so self-assured in their righteousness and that what they're doing is good. Well, I laugh so hard when Howard says, "I know I seem like a sensible guy." Like,
Yeah.
no, dude, you don't. But like, he thinks he is,
That
and he
was like the
thinks
one joke in the movie.
right. And but like it's also almost a joke in a disturbing way that he shoots Emmett in the head and then brings her the option of ice cream in a cone or ice cream in a
Oh
bowl.
yeah,
And he's
that
like,
was
"Oh,
funny
hang
too.
loose!" Like he's terrifying because
And
he's
then he just
so
wanders out of the
casual.
room too. She doesn't even choose an option. He gives her an option between a cone and a bowl. And he was
But
like,
Megan
Michelle
liked the
always
bowl,
liked the
or
bowl. Or
yeah,
Megan, yes.
right,
Megan always liked the bowl.
right.
And then he
So she
just
gets the
leaves
bowl.
it and walks out.
Yeah,
No, that
doop
was
doop doo.
that's uh but I thought what was so cool about it is like as much as the movie to me was a completely kind of like full picture of what this like phenomena might be, like John Goodman absorbs that so much. He
Mm,
is like the full fucking embodiment of it. Like I have I've seen him do many great performances. This is one of the more menacing and complete performances I have ever fucking seen. I mean,
yeah,
I almost wonder, like, if you had any other actor in that, would they pull that off without being extra evil or like,
yeah,
more of a loose cannon or whatever? I mean, he
right.
doesn't have to do anything except go like, he does that like little
And he's
it's
so
like a
old.
Clint Eastwood. It's like Clint Eastwood,
Yeah,
except it's like that guy. It's that guy that lives in the sticks, that's got a fucking bunker.
yeah. And it had been so
Unreal.
long. It had been so long since he's had the opportunity, and even really since, except for like one other science fiction movie that came out after this that I'm blanking on the name of that kind of flopped. But it's pretty rare since he worked with the Coens with Oh Brother Where Art Thou and Barton Fink, where he was really able to channel that kind of avuncular villain that is
Yes.
just so believable and terrifying, especially in Barton Fink. I mean, I fucking love him in that movie. But
Yeah. How
in
does he
this,
do that?
he gets to do that again, where it makes him so much more chilling that he is convinced that he's a good person.
Yeah. Oh my God. Absolutely. This is Dan, from Roseanne.
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah.
no, I mean, he's a he thinks of himself as an absolutely
Hmm.
good father figure.
Hmm.
But like, it is so dexterously dealt with. He does not cross that line. He does not become the monster you think he is supposed to be. Even in the end, he's still when he shoots Emmett,
Yeah,
that's when the guillotine drops. That's when the whole thing changes.
yeah. And then
Like
he
this,
forgives him first. Oof. Yeah,
yeah. Oh my God. I forgot that even happened. I was like
I
this
did too.
again, third time I'd watched this, and I was like, "Oh my God!" I think I gasped while watching it.
It's so
No,
sudden.
it's fucking brilliant. No,
Yeah.
it's absolutely brilliant. For such a claustrophobic movie, the way they kind of navigate around this like very small place. I mean, obviously, like a bunker like that can't be more than like, I don't know, 500 square feet or something. A very like claustrophobic space.
Hmm.
It feels broad. It feels big. It feels like you could have a life here. And then for a second, you kind of settle into that life a little bit
A little
with
bit.
them. They're
Yeah.
playing board games, they're having some fun. Like they've kind of put this shit out of their minds and like, all right,
Right.
let's just believe this. Let's just believe what this guy has to say and act as if. And it's fine. It's fine for them and it's okay. But then all of a sudden it's like, oh wait, yeah, they're still in the same fucking situation and they still are
Yeah.
plotting to get the fuck out of here. And they
Right.
have never stopped thinking about that. But
So
yeah.
I think that partly why this is so tight is the fact that this script bounced around for several years before it got made. Josh Campbell and Matt Stukin, who I'm not really familiar with, but they had written this script and it had gotten picked up. It was on spec. They're pretty much nobodies when they wrote it, as I understand it, and it got picked up by J.J. Abrams. And it was him that tacked on the whole Cloverfield thing, of course, and he tapped Damien Chazelle of all people to come in
Hmm.
and do rewrites and direct. So Chazelle came in and wrote on it and was going to direct it, but then thankfully the funding for Whiplash came in. Which, if you like Whiplash, check out the other Cinema 9 episode pretty recently. We did Whiplash as well. So between Whiplash and then our bonus episode all together last week where we talked Prey, there's all kinds of Cinema 9 inroads into 10
Yeah.
Cloverfield Lane. So I'm glad that you chose it. But it's such a masterfully written script for coming out of three different hands, and then a very capable and obviously assertive director like Dan Trachtenberg. For it to be as smooth as it is says a lot about how well written and crafted it was.
Mm. I think I find this guy to be really fascinating. This is now there might be more in his background. I actually didn't look through his entire history, but he did Prey, which we
Mm-hmm.
discussed on the on the Feast Blowout podcast,
Mhm.
which was great. But we discussed the fact that it's not really a Predator film. The same way this is not like a Cloverfield film. Cloverfield is much less deserving of a kind of canonical like
Mhm.
text type description. So,
Mhm.
but nonetheless, he made a Cloverfield movie that's standalone, doesn't have to be Cloverfield at all. This literally, like, I
Well,
didn't
it
even think
wasn't.
about it that way. I
It
didn't think about
wasn't.
it that way at all. That's why when you said like it kind of spoils it a bit that they call it 10 Cloverfield Lane because it kind of like indicates what it might kind of like in a weird way like spoil things, but he does Prey, which is a movie about like Native Americans colonization, and it has a predator in it. And this
Right.
this one just has aliens in it.
Yeah, it is. He seems really good at handling fantastic reality, right? Like he's just really good at putting the supernatural or the unbelievable in with this fairly mundane and believable
Well,
landscape.
what makes it, yeah, what really gives it that payoff is the fact that like he focuses on the real. He
Yeah,
focuses on the day-to-day, the mundane shit. That is the anchor. That's what keeps it all together. And then everything else is an exigent circumstance
that's
that
true.
everybody is reacting to. And that like the payoff in this Cloverfield movie compared to like the first one is so much greater.
Well, the reality I think that you're getting at here with Trachtenberg's really good skill between these two films is that you want to make a good sci-fi movie, you want to make a good horror movie, you don't focus on the premise, you focus on the characters, you
Mhm.
focus on the character development, you focus on the acting. Prey is a two-hander practically between what's her name, Thunder Heard, I believe, or Hunter, right? Thunder, oh, I'm
You're
blanking on
very
that.
close.
I'm
Yeah, I
very
think
close.
that's it. I think
Between
that might be
her
it.
and the young man that basically played her brother was the only other guy that really was in the movie a substantial
Mhm.
amount, I felt. And then this, of course, is a three-hander, which this had a rock bottom budget, and to get the three actors that they chose is just brilliant casting. Obviously,
Mhm.
John Goodman, who we've already gushed about with good cause, was what cinched the deal. He was also the only really recognized, well, not the name. Most people
Well,
probably,
yes.
especially in 2016, wouldn't know John Gallagher Jr.'s name,
Right,
and probably
exactly.
wouldn't know Mary Elizabeth Winstead's name. But Mary Elizabeth Winstead has got to be one of the most underrated actors fucking in the industry. I swear to God, between this, Faults, and that season of Fargo that she did, I'm starting to feel like, I really got to tune in and start checking out more of what she does. I mean, when she gets an idea in this movie, I'm like, oh, look, she just had inspiration. She's so
She is.
natural.
Yeah, she's incredibly natural without being, yeah, she's it's like I for some reason I always think about like Kabuki. It's like very exaggerated, like,
Oh yeah,
oh, I got it.
I'm a Nick
Wait,
Cage fan, so I get that.
yeah. Yeah, like you look up in the air because you got a light bulb over your head, right? You look up in the air for an idea. But yeah, she is, yeah, no, she's great. She's fucking
Nuanced.
great.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, no, her performance is absolutely phenomenal. Especially the way she just like limps around and like I don't know. I guess if you haven't seen it, whatever. She's
No,
fantastic in this.
spoil away. We're not worried about spoilers at this point. I mean, like, talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, man. No, I just this it's like terror in her eyes. There are a
Mhm.
few people that can like pull that shit off, where it's like you just look in their eyes and you get it
Yeah.
instantly. There's just
Yeah.
no overacting in this at all. Zero.
When she sees help scratched into the glass,
Yes.
and the look on her face, the dawning realization, there's so much in that look. It's
Yes.
just, and that's partly what gives me the chills, because she, like, her realization is the audience's realization. It's
Yep.
pretty awesome.
And she's in this bunker. She sees help. She still has not seen any evidence of
Mhm.
aliens or whatever the nuclear fallout or
Well, there
whatever
has the really
outside.
convenient woman that came and
Yes.
died on their doorstep. That was nice of her to do that.
So
Hey, I'm well
yeah,
timed plot device. Hello.
but it was a perfect plot device. That was
Yeah.
absolutely one of the best ever because it's just one person It happens. It's brief, and
Mhm.
you have got John Goodman yelling at her from like outside the foyer, right?
Yeah.
She's got like one security door closed. She's got
Mhm.
another security closed. She's right between the two, and he is screaming, "Do not let her in!" And then like she's literally watching this woman like melt away in front of her, like the scene from The Rock, you know, like when the sarin gas or whatever like blows
Fuck
up.
the prom queen.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Someone, I have to do it. I have to do it.
And you're sitting there siding with both of them. You're like, oh, I don't know which one I'd want to be right now. Like
Yeah.
I completely am with her. I'm not opening that door, but I want to so bad.
Yeah.
And that is such a well done like plot device. Usually that shit is just wasted.
Yeah.
That is that like it like sends her back into the bunker.
Mhm.
That plot device sends her back into the bunker
Mhm.
to mull over everything else, and that's when things get happy again, right?
Right.
They start
I
to
think we're
literally
alone now.
yeah, oh my god. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh, it becomes so like just creepy, man. Just like
Yeah.
it
There's a
crawls up your
vibe.
skin.
There's a
Yeah.
real vibe in this movie. But I think you
A
hit
real
on some
vibe.
good I think you hit on some good points there too about that it's not just I mean, as awesome as Mary Elizabeth Winstead is in this movie, Michelle is a really well-written character. I'm
Mhm.
watching this movie and watching her constantly figure out new ways to adapt and approach the situation. And she is consistently brave and resourceful throughout the movie.
Mhm.
And you referenced earlier how much there is also this element of trauma in the movie. Like I like that we're not beat about the head with the fact that clearly her father was physically abusive towards her, and she tells us one story where she talks about how she saw this little girl, and we both learn a lot about her and why she and like, oh well, I guess we just kind of like learn about her past, and it sets it up so nicely for this ending where she thinks that she's a weak person who runs, but she learns from this experience that she's not. She's actually a really strong and resourceful woman who can fight her way to freedom. It's pretty cool.
Mhm. Which literally ties into like her decision that she makes at the very end, which is like go to safety or like go help people that need it. And she
Oh,
fucking takes that fucking
right,
turn and
right.
is like, I'm going to Houston. I'm gonna fucking help these people out. And also like that stems like there are so many tiny little details in this movie that are really good. She stitches up his head, right?
Hmm.
So first of all, she bashes his fucking head with a bottle. She's
Hmm.
not like she doesn't sit around and get victimized. Like she takes
Right,
every opportunity she can to get away from this motherfucker.
right.
And she puts in a great effort. She fucking bashes him over the head with the bottle. I forget how he actually gets back to her, but she then has to stitch him up. and she's in, I guess in a way it's kind of like lib fantasy, like, oh, well, this liberal education really did help out. You know, look, I can stitch your head, you know, like
Okay.
listen, dad, you said I was gay for going out to New York, but I know how to stitch your fucking forehead together after somebody bashes a bottle into it. And so she does it expertly, right?
Okay.
And yeah, that's kind of how I read it.
Okay.
Okay, hold on, wait. You're nodding your head a little bit, as if I just like did not give a dog a treat. You're kind of like, what the fuck?
Oh no, I mean it was an
Let,
oddly specific. Um,
for me, that was very specific. For me, it was like that was the moment between father and daughter, some or father and son, who went to the son or daughter goes to like
well, yeah, you're right. No,
yeah,
design
whatever,
school. Okay.
college, just college in general, right?
All
I mean,
right.
it's a stand-in for college.
Okay.
Because a lot of these guys you know, out in the sticks or out in the plains or whatever, just could not understand their kids who went to college. You
Oh,
know, they
sure.
just didn't, they couldn't wrap their minds around it, and they thought everybody was frivolous, and they wouldn't be able to survive in a disaster. What they got it fucking wrong, because
Yeah,
she can.
yeah. And I'm here to tell
She
you,
can.
with
Yeah.
my six-figure debt that I
Jesus
got from
Christ.
my humanitarian degree,
Oh God.
that I would absolutely die in this situation. For the record, I can't sew for shit. One of the things that really also stuck out to me about this movie was the fact that he's also right about saving her life. He's right that he ran this stranger off the road. Now
Yes.
his reasons are fucking haunting and terrifying. But
Yes.
he accurately really does save her life. And I love it when he's like, this is what you do for me, or whatever he says at the end, and she's like, no, this is how I'm paying you back, and she kicks the barrel over. But here's a big gripe I got there. Homeboy's very clearly lying face down on the ground, splashing around, splishy splashy in the acid, and then he gets up and he's all Harvey Dent on us all of a sudden. I'm like, no, that's not the direction you were lying in, John. We all saw, but minor gripe, I guess. It's a really cool moment, and I also love the way she like jumps around over him, like she's very nimble and stuff, but not like in a way that's like unbelievable.
She does a really good job of like leapfrogging him into safety. The thing is, like, there are no moments in this movie really, other than that, maybe that like small gripe, which I caught too, and I was kind of like, I'm not gonna say anything, because I thought maybe it would be like his nose would be right, like it would be like, and that would have been perfect because it would be Panglossian at that point.
That would be very cool, and he could get up and talk about how he's in the best of all worlds. But still, I think that I can imagine that they did the makeup for that and then went, egad, people are not gonna want to
just
see
a
this
noseless face. Yeah, that's boy, they really had it made back in the days when you only had words, men of letters, as it were.
Speaking of Voltaire.
But it's so incredibly, I think there are all these like so there are very few missteps in this movie. It's so tight in that way. Everything is so tight. Like, so when she dumps the barrel, right, there would be so many other ways to fuck that up. But the way it happens, she like dumps it forward, right? He falls forward because he's kind of like going forward. It all just works. Then she just like leapfrogs him, gets into like safe territory. It's
only temporarily safe.
Right, only temporary, and then the whole thing goes up in fucking flames,
which is awesomely believable too, because you're dealing with this
acid. It's like glycerin or whatever too. Right. It's also fucking flammable.
What the fuck is it called? Percolic? I don't know what it's.
It's acid, yes, anyway. I think you're right. I think he called it percolic acid.
Smilex. I'm not sure, but it's
yeah, sarin gas. I mean, fucking who knows?
The
dip. What did the dip? It is the dip.
It's the fucking dip. Yeah.
And in the fact that, yes, everything he does out of like some form of good nature, yet completely self-serving nature. It is a absolute fucking balancing act that this guy is like, he is like on the razor's edge. Like this guy's living on the razor, like mentally probably, but he's living on the razor's edge. And it's the fact that it's like, wait a minute, is he a fucking serial killer? Like, what the fuck is going? And it's like the way it doesn't just tease it for no reason. It just feels so integral to like who this guy is and why you should be fucking concerned. Like, even if he is or isn't, you should be fucking concerned. Get the fuck out of this house. I mean, I just thought that was fucking brilliant. And of course, Goodman, just like the anchor that he is, fucking, he is the center of gravity for the whole thing, obviously. But my God, just unbelievable.
I mean, the way it's written, it was going to require a veteran actor who could hold down the whole film, and he was just the right person for it. But I feel like we'd be remiss to not also talk about the third actor in this film. No, not Bradley Cooper's voice over the phone. That's kind of distracting. But John Gallagher Jr. I think the character is really well written, because I love that you get the sense that this is just kind of a casual dude. I'll take whatever job comes my way. I'm just kind of a local guy. I'm drifting through life. I'm easy going, easy breezy. I don't really have my own politics, right? Like he doesn't come across as a guy who's like
doesn't believe. He's not a true believer.
He's not a true believer, and he's also not like of the urban liberal whatever that you're kind of referencing to, which I do kind of see it. I don't see that quite as clearly as you. I definitely see the conspiratorial right-wing nature of Howard's character, not as much the liberal nature of Michelle's. But still, I like that Emmett he's a very just believable kind of like, hey, I'm just here, but he's also a good person. And when he again, this is partly the writing, but when he says to Howard that I wanted to take your gun because I wanted her to look at me the way that she looks at you, I wanted her to respect me the way that she respects you, is so calculated and brilliant. Like Emmett is no fucking dummy. He knows that he's putting himself at great risk. He probably doesn't think that Howard's going to kill him, but he still knows that like he's he's standing between Howard and Michelle.
He
And
thinks
he
he
says
got
the
away with
exact
it a little bit.
right. And he says the
Maybe he shouldn't
exact
have.
and he says the exact right thing that would convince Howard that to play into Howard's ego, because Howard's whole thing is that he's this big protective man and he cannot even see Michelle as a woman. That whole bit about little women, and he can't say women, little girl, little princess, little child. You're like, he's like, that's like, oof, that's like the most telling awkward moment in the movie.
Hold on, you got to go back into that. So what game are they playing when that happens?
What is the name of that game? $1 million, $10,000 pyramid, or the $1,000 word?
Okay, so the game is not important, but like, he's trying to get Howard to guess. He's trying to get Howard to guess like woman. Okay,
Little Women in the book.
Little Women in the book, but like he's trying to get him to guess woman.
Right.
And he keeps referencing not Megan, but whatever her name is. Her name is Michelle. Okay. And Howard literally cannot. He keeps saying little girl, girl, baby, little baby. Like he can't say woman.
Right.
That was probably, in my opinion, the most like harrowing moment of the film, because that's when they're getting along. That's when everything is they're getting along. And then that moment happens, is like this guy is like 3 sheets, absolute Looney Tunes, fucking out of control crazy.
Right. And then it's followed up with the Santa Claus scene, which is a little heavy-handed. I'm always watching.
That was like, a little much. Yeah.
It's like, okay, we
that was the only part of the whole movie actually was like, okay, that
it felt forced, right?
It doesn't even, that's not even a guess I would make. You know, somebody keeps saying that. I'm always watching. I'm always watching.
That feels
I see you.
That feels like a J.J. Abrams note.
Absolutely.
No, seriously, do this.
This has got to be, that has to be like some executive dickhead, like just muddling, just
it'll be great for the previews, right? It'll be great for the previews.
I just thought like I wrote a note and I was just like, this is probably like the saddest and like most empathetic film I've ever seen about like the quote unquote right. And I think so many people have parents like this who are just, they feel lost, you know, maybe they're victims of like, you know, like whatever the post-industrial era, like, you know, NAFTA, whatnot. They're stuck on fucking Facebook. They're reading this QAnon nonsense. I mean, this movie came out in March of 2016. This movie started production probably in less than a year after that or before that. And, you know, like that's when like Trump announced his like presidency, like, you know, Mexicans are rapists, all that. Like I could not divorce that from my reading of this movie. Like this is such an interesting portrayal of like that guy. It is a loving portrayal. It's kind of like, listen, let's not forget that not all these people are crazy, but most of them are desperate and terrified. And that's like what they like. This guy built a fucking bunker, a doomsday bunker. He's scared. He's fucking scared. He's scared at the outside world. The outside world is like, you know, fucking aliens, the fallout, all that, whatever it might be. And it just, I really thought, you know, of course, again, not gushing over Goodman again, but like that was the perfect fucking pick for this guy.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And you know what you're saying makes me think some more about it. And you know what they always say about like authoritarian fascists and how like it's 1/3 of the country is going to kill another third of the country while another third of the country sits back and watches. Right. And like we're all stuck in this country. We're all stuck in this bunker with this crazy fucking right-wing conspiracy theorist, and we can't get out. And there's us who like want to get out and progress and move forward. And then there's this other guy who's in there with us, who's a good person, who isn't
Got
as
caught up in the undertow.
who got caught up, who doesn't quite recognize the danger and kind of bought in a little bit, but isn't all the way in, right? So I think that that's probably astute of you. I hadn't quite read into it this much. I mean, of course, as you say, the movie comes from an era, and it's never going to be divorced from the era that it comes in. But I don't, and the fact that the script had been kicking around for quite a few years before that, but still the elements are all the same. I think that you're right. I think that this is probably an attempt at an allegory of some kind, not necessarily just of the United States, because we're hardly the only country tipping towards authoritarianism in recent times. So I think it's just, I think it works on a lot of levels.
Yeah, and I think if it was kicking around for a while, and it wouldn't, if this came out in 2010, 2011, while Obama was still president, I mean, that element was absolutely there.
Yeah.
You had the Freedom Party, you had the Tea Party, you had all this shit going on, like. And I think a lot of people were trying to wrap their minds around, like, how do I deal with my dad? How do I deal with my grandpa? Like, how do I deal with these guys that are like, they're sinking deeper into the digital ether of Facebook and all that. And like, I'm terrified. I don't know how to bring them back. How do I bring them back?
And even if it's not someone that you love and that you want to bring back, even if it's a total fucking stranger who just plowed into your car and you're stuck in this bunker with, you have no choice. Sometimes your cohorts, you're just stuck with these people.
They do have genuine, like, it seems like they have genuine affection for each other, like throughout the movie. They definitely do, but they still are like, this, I need to get away from fucking this. And
because he's got the keys, he's got the power, and he's keeping it that way, because he's the older one who had the capital and foresight to create this microcosm for them.
That you said that fucking perfectly. I think I even wrote microcosm down at some point. That even when you look at what happened during the January 6th riots, what happened when they all got there, they all kind of didn't know what else to do after, of course, after the breach. Well, as we've learned, and after all the exciting shit happened, they just put their feet up and there's
supposed to be a second one. That's what we learned today. That was the news today. There's supposed to be a second event that didn't
January 7th.
Well, no, just somewhere. They're supposed to go to the Supreme Court is where they were going to go. Apparently.
Yes. Okay. Well, it's this this terrified hive mind that doesn't really have a place. There's no catharsis for it. So I look at this bunker like it's like a powder keg. The second it goes up, right, it blows up. Everything inside it is fucking blown up, but like nothing really blows out into the world. Like there's no expression of it in the greater world. The expression of what's in this guy's head is coming at him from the outer world. And I honestly, when I saw the UFOs outside, I was like, I am surprised it doesn't have like a bumper sticker in Cyrillic that just says like, fuck the vote or something.
Let's go, Brandon.
I literally was like, I was like, I thought let's go, Brandon, but I was like, okay, this is too old for that to have happened. But I thought for sure, I was like, this is like, these are the monsters that are fucking like dropping their tentacles down, like pulling everybody out, like creating fucking havoc, destroying the world. And then like our nice little liberal like fashion girl goes to Houston to like save the world. And I was like, okay, it's a half liberal fantasy, half kind of like touching tribute to all of our parents that have gone down the dark path.
I also, to go back kind of to my point that I wish that Cloverfield hadn't been in the title, I love it when she gets out of the bunker and she rips her vinyl little suit that she made for herself, and she has herself that moment of freak out, and then she pauses and she hears birds, and
she sees literally birds. I saw them today, like the V shape,
right? So it's like, birds. We're like, well, shit. And then so there's this moment when she takes off the mask and breathes in, and you're like, well, oh, maybe it was all a lie, and like the movie could almost end there, and then you see what maybe could be a helicopter, except for that's not quite right as a helicopter. And I'm actually I'm I'm glad that there wasn't like a giant Cloverfield monster. I'm glad that it's these different kind of shock trooper monsters, guard
Yeah.
dog monsters instead, which I think they do a really good job with it. I do think that
Super creepy.
I mean, I don't know the strength of an alien proboscis or whatever. I feel like it's going to go through the
Yeah.
plastic of a 2-liter bottle, or at least
Or
like,
just eat the bottle off.
so
Maybe
like
it
at
just
least it'd be
bites
like
on the bottle.
it would at least be like a punch in the face, even if it doesn't break your skin. But
Bare minimum.
okay,
Bare minimum.
all right, okay. I did totally Google like homemade gas mask before the show. And
Okay, that's a good job. You're red flag now forever with the FBI.
yeah, right. Apparently, you just need a KN95 mask, one of those industrial jobs that they handed out at Walmart once in the middle of the pandemic. And remember that? Like for
Yes.
there was like one hot
course.
second where it was like, hey, check out these great masks. The government supplied them to us. You can get them at your local pharmacy, but not the actual pharmacy. You have to go to some other part of the building because, of course, your pharmacy is in a Meijer or a Walmart or an Albertsons.
Couldn't find them.
Yeah, I got
We
three.
tried.
I got 3 and stepped on 1.
We tried, couldn't find them.
Yeah, that was a blast. But
No, but that is such a cool moment in the movie because it does kind of keep turning on this idea that, all right, we like see the thing is it doesn't play too hard into the is it real or is it not. It is a legitimately terrifying situation that they are in regardless of whether or not there are fucking aliens.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it because it's almost like 2 separate movies. It's like the second that happens and you see the aliens and stuff, you kind of forget about all the shit that she's just been through. Now you're like, holy fuck, this is really happening. and she does that too. And I actually really appreciate when characters are allowed to recognize
how
that
fucked up it is.
Something is so fucked up. Yes, this is so fucked up. She goes, like, come on. Yeah, she literally, oh, come on. And it's like a fucking alien. She's like, oh, come on.
Like how fucking
that's how I would react. Like,
right?
What the
it's
fuck?
Relatable. How tense is it? How scary is it when she's shimmying her way through the vent, which they really set that whole vent up well because it seems almost unnecessary. She's shimmying, and then the fucking blade is coming in at all these different angles, and fire and smoke is coming through. Like this is super intense. And if she had just gotten out at the end of the movie, or if she had gotten to the if he had died and she had gotten to where the lock was and she couldn't get the lock off, that's how some horror movies would just end. But I also love, speaking of that lock, I love that when she finally breaks the lock, it's so clearly the last hit that she was going to, because she's like hit, and then one last big hit, which was if that hadn't come off, then she probably would have given up.
She would have died in that bunker while it was burning. It was fucking burning at that time.
Right.
No, yeah, they did that so well. I actually made a note of that too. Like, because when she is going to, I guess, unclog the ventilator or the
that was
filter or something,
little fuzzy. Like you click a thing to clear what?
She's
like
got to pull. She's got to pull the lever, but he can't do it from the inside, which, okay, that is probably the biggest, like, if you're gonna have a problem with the movie, that's probably the biggest dumb problem, because this guy who spent all of his life savings, apparently, I'm guessing this is what happened, he spent all of his life savings on this like doomsday bunker. His wife and kid were like, get me the fuck out of here. They took off. He's been bitter about it ever since, but he did not plan to ever have a problem with his air filter.
Right.
So
and there's this other room.
Get to it.
There's this other room that's only accessible from outside. You have to go outside the bunker.
Exactly. Yeah.
That doesn't make a lick of sense.
That is probably the worst part of the movie. But anyhow, she has to access the air filter room, whatever through the HVAC system. And it does such a good job of showing you that he can see her, like in the vents. Like there are little grates in the vents.
Sets everything up.
It sets it up so well. He can see her. He knows where she's at.
She knows how to get to where she needs to go.
And so then when it happens at the end, you're like, don't go in there. He can fucking stab you. But I'm also thinking that was really well done. I was still on the edge of my seat, and I have seen this fucking movie.
Yeah. I'm also thinking though, like, You could stab better than that, Howard.
Bigger
Like, you're
knife,
close.
maybe.
If the
Bigger knife.
if the knife doesn't come back bloody, maybe not. Don't stab in the same spot again. I don't know. Just an idea.
It's just not like any of these dumb movies where like all of a sudden a knife comes through the ventilation system and it's like, where did that come from? How'd this guy know this person was even there? Like,
I think you're really
he
onto
knew
something.
she was there.
Right. I think you're really onto something. I don't know how much of all this was written in there, but I think that I'm really excited about whatever Trachtenberg's next movie is going to be, because between this and Prey, which is pretty much all he's done, he did some episodes or so of The Boys and Black Mirror, but as far as I could tell, those are the two major features that he's done. Yeah, good, good pedigree. But I'm
totally,
and he's clearly, speaking of the MCU earlier, I can't think of a director I would rather tap to bring into the MCU than I think Dan Trachtenberg. I think he'd fit so well into that universe. I really hope that he gets offered something.
Do you think he would pull off like a Taika Waititi type thing where it's a part of the canon, but it's adjacent to it? Because he just has like, I feel like he's using this prior IP to like just make a movie. He's like, okay, you guys want to make this movie? Nobody wants to make it. I'll make it. And I'm gonna make this movie, but it's gonna have the Cloverfield monster at the end. Whatever.
Right. Well, that Marvel has been pivoting towards more diversification of genre. You got Werewolf by Night, which is a horror genre film, and Multiverse of Madness, even though it sucked, was still a horror movie basically. And then you had a sitcom comedy with She-Hulk, the Thor Love and Thunder, definitely a bit more of a comedy, but they seem to be kind of trying to do a little bit more variation.
Yeah, they've created, like, for somebody like Dan Trachtenberg, they've created so many options. Like,
he could
literally he could attack the material at fucking any angle, and there are like 1,000 fucking characters that he can go at. Yeah,
imagine Fantastic Four in his hands. I think he'd fucking kill it.
Oh my god, a good Fantastic Four movie I've actually always wanted to see.
Maybe someday.
I would love to see one. I would love to see one.
Well, any more comments about 10 Cloverfield Lane that we didn't quite get to? Have you seen Cannibal Airlines? I have not. I'm not sure if it's even a real movie.
Cannibal Airlines, I'm sure it is. I mean, that sounds exactly like a real movie.
Sounds
Hold
good.
on 1 second. Let me just
look over the old notes.
I did I did write a note. I don't know why I wrote this down. Grown men also cry.
Grown men also cry. I don't know why you wrote that down either.
Why did I write that? Oh, and then the other note was it's the reversal of A Color Purple, because he has her like stitch his head, but it's like similar to like when she's like shaving the guy's neck, and like like literally this girl's got like a needle and thread. She could fucking stab him in the eye, but she doesn't do it. Anyhow, I think that's probably the last of my notes. I got a whole bunch, but
is Howard a updated Annie Wilkes from Misery?
Jesus. Yes.
Right? In a lot of ways.
Yes.
This is Misery.
Yes. Absolutely.
I mean, literally even like knocking him off the road in the car and all that stuff. I mean, that's like
holy
Misery.
Shit. It's perfect. That's why I think Dan Trachtenberg was like, I want to make this movie, which is the one right in between the bookends.
Yeah.
And he made that movie and he did such a good fucking job with it. But then it's like, you put the aliens at the end, whatever, absorb the stuff in the beginning. It's so like, to me, it's just it's one of those like very perfect fucking B movies. I will always love it. But yes, dude, Misery. It is Misery.
A little bit. So what do you think? You want to give us your final thoughts on whether or not you think it holds up?
Well, of course. If it holds up, 100%. I actually liked it more this time, I think. It gave me more to think about,
I'm gonna have to agree with you. I liked it the first time I watched it, but very often when I sit down with these movies, and that's part of the whole idea of this podcast is revisiting stuff we thought was good with a more critical eye. And very often when I sit down with a pen and paper and dig deep, I come away, even movies that I think hold up and that I like, I often come away liking them a little bit less because I start to see holes, which I did in this film as well. But I have a lot more appreciation for the film with my second viewing than I did with the first. And
Oh,
also,
cool.
Luke, thank you for choosing it and for talking about it with me, because I think I have more appreciation for it after having this conversation with you as well. I think you had some good insights that made me look at it a little differently. So thank you.
I mean, yeah, thank you so much for having me on the show. My God. I love it. Could do this all the time, as you know.
Awesome. So this would be the part where we typically would announce the next film that we'll be watching. Oh, there's your cat in the background. Hi, kitty. The next film that we would I see her, that we would typically be, yeah, she is. But we already announced it. So we announced it last week.
You went out. They announced it last week, and it's gonna be. I think I heard it was gonna be, Sleepless in Seattle.
No, we all know that movie holds up.
It holds up. It's very, very good to talk about.
No, The Wailing, as I already referenced on the show, from 2016, the South Korean horror picture. It is streaming on, I think, Tubi, Pluto, Paramount Plus. I think it's on a ton of things. If you like South Korean movies at all, I strongly recommend The Wailing. We'll talk about it more next week. Luke, for Mike, for Eric, we both say thank you for letting us have the show plod forward despite their issues. And Mike and Eric, if you are listening, you are loved and missed. And we all wish you good, well wishing, and that you feel better.
There is one other movie. Have you guys done Memories of Murder yet?
No, we've not done Memories of Murder.
Okay,
we've not. I'm trying to think if I've seen that one. I'm aware of it, of course, but I don't think I've actually caught it yet. I hear good things.
It's available.
Yeah, it's been on my list. Have you seen Mother? Mother was really good.
I have not watched Master. I have not watched. No. Yes.
The South Korean Mother.
I have not watched that either. I haven't watched either Mothers.
Oh, well, don't watch.
No mothers have been watched.
You hear that, everybody? Your mothers are safe. On that note, Luke, thank you so much. I am Travis Roy. We are Cinema 9 Podcast. Until next time, thanks everybody for sticking around. We wish you the very best. Email us at cinema9pod@gmail.com. Drop us a line on any social media. Follow us on Patreon. Do all the things. Rake us. If you see us in the street, say hello. All right. Thanks, everybody. Take her easy.